She is back. This time, we're gonna give her something to do post-Buu. Hey folks, MasakoX here. After the successful running of the December stint of this particular What If, I felt the time was right to return to it. Yes, Videll's journey to becoming a proper Z-fighter was, quite frankly, one of the most entertaining adventures that I've undertaken on this channel. With the additional help of Sophie V Powerhouse and of course our trusty sidekick Haverock, we three were able to create a world where Videl is able to do things, and this in turn allows us to then explore what might happen to other characters as well. It's not just Videl time here, or Dragon Ball VT. For the whole month of February, the month of love, what with Valentine's Day being in the middle of it, we are going to lovingly focus on the couple of Gohan and Videl, as we go from the start of the time skip after Buu all the way through to the end of the story. Anyway, in the last part, we had Ultimate Goku coming to terms with the situation that he had inadvertently found himself in. With the inability, in theory, to gain more power than he currently had, in theory, he chose to take out his frustration on Super Buu, which then led to, like with Ultimate Gohan in the original, to become Buku instead of Buhan. Nevertheless, the likes of Vegeta and Gohan, when they fused together to become Vegahan, turned out to be a more methodical fusion than Vegeta was. With this, our friends were saved and the fused warrior was able to waste Super Buu before they could become Kid Buu, but then at the same time wish back Mr. Buu later on with the Dragon Balls after the request of Hercule, who felt it was unjust that the more benevolent and innocent entity was lumped in with the more evil half and had to bite the dust too. Now with Goku claiming to have retired from the frontline fighting, passing the figurative torch onto Gohan properly, we are now going to be dedicating the next couple of parts to see what might happen between now and Dragon Ball Super's start. And I can assure you everybody, some movie content will be added here, as well as some cheeky fan service for you all. But wait, Masako, you don't usually do this. Why are you adding movie content? Well, I shall explain later, so pay attention to that. Gohan and Videl were now very much known to be a solid couple at Orange Star High School. People weren't expecting such a couple to form though. Videl, the hard-nosed daughter of the great Hercule who seemed to not really like anyone, now pairing up with Gohan, this transfer student who was a dork and far too muscular given his bookworm demeanor. Oh, the confused stereotypes and conceptions of teenagers. How I don't miss that day. With this difference from the original though, Videl was absolutely pumped after her ability to actually help the Dragon team with their efforts against Majin Buu. Even though her and 18 were absorbed by Buu ultimately and unable to help, they had been able to hold the fort as Vizuli long enough for the likes of the Saiyans to be able to step in and finish the job. They had actually contributed a lot. They had been able to do a lot of good for Earth, and she felt like a hero, and, admittedly, more of a hero than her father ever could be. However, she never chose to rub that in his face, as it were. I mean, what good would it do? No. It was best to let that sleeping dog lay where it was. It was better for Hercule's peace of mind. Nevertheless though, the itch to do good for humanity failed to go away. On many days when she and Gohan were studying, there would be moments where she would groan from sheer boredom at just doing homework. Gohan, this isn't what we should be doing. We should be out there in space or kicking something's ass, not here looking at books. Gohan would, every single time, being incredibly patient with his girlfriend, state that an education is just as valuable as strength. But of course, that's before he learnt about conferences. Yeah, I do understand that you're not the studying type, honey, but we gotta make sure you get the grades needed to graduate. Once that's over with, we can do more fun stuff, yeah? Videl was curious. Like what? Gohan wasn't expecting to answer that, so he stumbled goofily. Well, maybe you could, well, I don't really know off the top of my head. Ha! I managed to stump you, the unstumpable Gohan! She lightly punched his upper arm jovially. Just then, Gohan's Saiyaman communicator went off. A report of a major bank robbery was in progress. Gohan stood up, ready to deal with the call to action, and deal with it. Then he saw Videl banging her head against the desk. Man, he really hated seeing her this down. He understood that after the highs of battle a few weeks ago, doing menial studying for her was a major bore fest. So he had an idea. Tell you what, Videl, why don't you come out on this job with me? Huh? You mean fight crime? Yeah, I have a spare costume in the closet. It may be a little bit big for you, but it should work for now. Videl's face lit up, just like he thought it would. She immediately rushed to the closet across the room, stripped down, and changed into the suit. Whilst Gohan was in the room, she was that excited not to notice. His face was beet red, and he frantically turned around out of respect. Gohan, please, it's not like you've not seen it before, she said, this rolling her eyes, but Gohan still gulped. Still though, it's not right. You're such a dork. With Videl now changed into her costume, the pair set off for the crime scene and got the job done with the greatest of speed, Videl having a blast doing so. After this fracas, the news got around about the Great Saiyaman having a sidekick. They dubbed this accomplice the Great Saiyaman 2. Videl scoffed at the thoroughly unoriginal name, but hey, it's better than maybe the Great Saiyawoman or something. As far as the media were concerned, they were equals, as they both showed great power at the same ability. And Gohan did agree that the name sounded alright, and it actually sounded kinda cool. Like there was some sort of squadron or something. You know, Great Saiyaman 1, 2, 3. It's like those Super Sentai shows he used to watch. And unbeknownst to Videl, it reminded him of the Ginyu Force back in the day. With this compromise now reached, Videl and Gohan dedicated their spare time to crime, fighting on the condition that Videl would study to get the results needed to graduate with the proper grades. Granted, she wasn't exactly dumb or anything like that, but she really wasn't geared to educational pursuits, academic stuff and the like. She had the smarts, but she never applied herself as much as she could have, just deciding to coast, as had been the case since preschool. But then, they had an unexpected visitor from the sacred world of the Kais, arriving with a very particularly special invitation. Meanwhile, Vegeta had been sort of left in the doldrums. Now he and Goku were alive again, he had been left looking for someone to train with aside from Trunks. Trunks, in the meantime, though, had changed for the better. Thanks to Videl's assurances during their fusion training, he felt more composed and less bratty than the original story. As a result, his training with his father was more focused, and he felt like he had made some progress, as well as impress his old man, perhaps. Vegeta did have to admit that Gohan's woman had knocked some sense into his son. He had been getting quite spoiled and bratty lately, so this did the world of good.
Honestly, Bulma mollycoddles him too much. Maybe now he could become more of a man.
Still though, Trunks' power was not enough to cure him of his hankering for a good battle. Gohan had made his position clear that he wanted to focus on school, and now seemingly doing odd jobs for the police in the city, it meant that Vegeta's main yardstick was occupied. You would think that he would go and train with Goku, and that's what he wanted to do. But unfortunately, that's just not possible anymore. His old rival had made it clear many times, but that wasn't enough to stop the prince from trying. Every single other day, maybe one day Goku would relent. After all, he had remarkable power now that was just itching to be tested. This ultimate power could not be beat. But one day though, it did come to a head. Vegeta had arrived at Mount Paozu, as per usual, and Chi-Chi getting very bored of seeing Vegeta stomping his way to the front door, asking the same old thing time and time again. Vegeta, I keep telling you, he's not interested.
I want to hear that from the clown himself, woman.
Chi-Chi scowled at him and looked down at the prince when she got right up in his grill. For the last time, I have a name, you short stack. Either you call me Chi-Chi, or you can forget about coming here ever again. You got that? Vegeta grunted and looked away, but then spotted Kakarot playing with Goten and made a hasty retreat from the scary human lady. Hoping Vegeta was here for a social call this time, sighed when the prince made it clear, again, his desire to fight him. Look, Vegeta, I keep telling you.
You sound like your woman, Kakarot.
But Goku ignored this. I'm not into that stuff anymore. I plateaued. I can't get any stronger than I am now. I've made my bed though, come to terms with it. I'm okay with it, Vegeta.
What's that supposed to mean? Are you chickening out of a duel?
What I'm saying is, Vegeta, I can't give you the fight that you want. You want something where we go all out and cause all sorts of mayhem and carnage and stuff. I'm just not wired like that anymore. I've changed. I don't have the spark anymore. You'd be better off fighting Gohan, you know.
That one is all busy being lovey-dovey. He's been slacking since Majin Buu was defeated. He's no use to me right now until he catches up.
He just told me he was off to train with the Supreme Kai. I think he's gonna go and do the same ritual thing I did.
Interesting. Fine. You keep telling yourself that you quit, Kakarot. The time will come where you will be back in the game, whether you like it or not, and I'll be ready for you.
With that, Vegeta flew off, waiting for Gohan's return. Goten was confused as to why Vegeta was so angry. Trunks surely is good enough to train with, Dad. Why is he so mad about Gohan not doing enough? I don't know, son. You're okay with our training, right? Goten beamed. Of course! I feel like I'm making progress, sure. We don't have to do it all day or anything. What we got is cool. Goku smiled. Good. So what do you want to play next? With that, the two Son men had more fun playing together, happy with their lot. And as we just mentioned, Gohan and Videl had been summoned by Shin to the sacred world of the Kais. For their services in stopping Babidi and eliminating Majin Buu's evil side, they were granted special training with himself and the Elder Kai. Gohan asked whether they could perhaps receive the same training that his father had had, that ritual, and Videl obviously wanting whatever Gohan got so she wasn't left behind. However, the Elder Kai was now reluctant to do so.
Your father was so mad afterwards. I don't know whether this power's right for you, my child. I don't want you to blow up like he did. I can't deal with the stress these days with you whippersnappers.
Don't worry, Elder Kai. I know what I'm getting myself into. We both do. We're honored that we're even being considered for such a power. We're ready for it.
Are you sure? You will be able to go Super Saiyan and your power will peak. Is that what you want?
Gohan nodded, as did Videl. The Elder Kai sighed and relented. First, Gohan and then Videl undertook the ritual. However, at the start of Videl's training, the Kai did get a little bit lechy at the woman's figure as she rested there, but after a couple of arm locks from the woman, the elder deity was put in his place. Gohan apologized for her behavior, but Shin quietly said, "Quite frankly, he needs to understand that that sort of thing is not right, Gohan. He's very set in his ways, I'm afraid." Gohan nervously laughed, relating Master Roshi-wise. Afterwards, Videl didn't really notice any difference. That is until Gohan told her to power up as much as she could. Thinking this was a weird way to show off power, the amount of energy she could emit was far beyond what she'd ever felt before. Even the power of Vizuli was dwarfed by this change in strength. She felt buzzed, more so than ever. Oh, wait till I show 18 this. She's gonna be so stoked. The Elder Kai reminded them both that it was very important to keep training as much as they could so as to not lose this power, as it was very sensitive to that kind of thing. It was possible for this to occur if it was left forlorn for too long. Videl accepted this fully. Well, Gohan, looks like we have to train more if we want to stay this strong. She was dancing on the spot with how good she felt, whereas Gohan sighed. How is he going to get at this study now? Now, this is where we're going to be doing something different. With this 4-year time skip, we have the ability to add the 13th movie into the mix. Yes, we're going to be adding the Hirudegarn movie, but of course, with a twist of what we've done so far in the story. We start this arc some months after Buu, and both Videl and Gohan have settled into using their unlocked potential, their ultimate power. Videl has just about scraped through the end-of-year exams with a passing grade, which Gohan had to settle for, but all this was pushed aside, of course, when the likes of Hoi came into their lives. After saving this weird creature from chucking himself off a great height, he presents them the music box as a gift, like before, and the group struggle to open it. Once they use Shenron to unlock it, Tapion is released, as is the beast known as Hirudegarn, as well as his essence. Tapion is angry at Gohan's decision to open this box so foolhardily and makes a retreat, but Trunks is still intrigued with this very interesting and cool looking individual. And thanks to Trunks being more level-headed in this story, his relationship with Tapion is much more amiable, more grounded, more mature. The Guardian of Hirudegarn liking this Trunks even more, comparing him to his little brother ever more so than in the movie. When it comes to Hirudegarn's lower half escaping the first time out, Gohan and Videl, thanks to their unlocked potential, are able to fend off the kaiju before Tapion can use his ocarina, which fascinates the Protector. He is fascinated with this pair's power and asks where it came from. This interests him greatly. Maybe there's more to this planet than I first thought. However, despite Bulma's effort to build a bedroom-sized music box for him, it isn't enough to calm him down, and the full kaiju is let loose upon the city and with Hoi reveling in the destruction. Vegeta now steps in, demanding to know why Kakarot hasn't shown up to help, but nobody actually knows why.
He can't be serious! Why is he being so reckless with Earth?
Goten, who had been visiting Trunks during this, steps up and explains.
Dad isn't worried about this thing. He knows that we can take this monster on without his help. He believes in us, Vegeta.
But Vegeta is sickened by this decision and decides to do his best and smack this creature down, only to be smacked down himself. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is enough to, like in the movie, incapacitate the first form Kaiju, but then we get the Cicada form, which is no match for Gotenks and he's sent flying. Gotenks is able to do a little bit of damage to this form, but the fusion breaks before they can get a good rhythm going and finish it off. Trunks curses this turn of events, but Tapion, who had been watching the whole thing, praises him for doing his best against that hideous creature.
I've got a feeling we might be able to stop Hoi and Hirudegarn after all these years. We can't lose hope now, Trunks!
Trunks nods and pays attention to the efforts of Ultimate Gohan and Videl. They could finish it off. In this version, Tapion doesn't need Trunks to get involved with the sword, and it also means that the ocarina is intact as the duo step in. Ultimate Gohan, who had been training all this time, is now at the level of Super Saiyan Blue, we reckon. His mentality to this form is different to that of his father. Instead of seeing this as a limiter, Gohan saw it from another angle thanks to his smarts, as something like a booster. He could never tire, as was the same as Videl. Granted, the latter's power wasn't as high as her boyfriend's, no, but she was now slightly stronger than Krillin, and on course to get to Piccolo's level of power if she kept refining this technique. In this form, Gohan felt that maybe his father could get stronger if he got out of his funk, but he also didn't want to disrupt something that he knew that his father was enjoying. He was actually happy. So why change that? Why spoil it? They had a monster to stop, and in their full Saiyaman regalia, the duo did a full power Super Kamehameha at the same time, which was just about enough to destroy Hirudegarn, leaving Hoi utterly speechless. Now, fearing for his life, he tries to flee the scene, but then gets accosted by Trunks and Tapion, who knock him to the ground, and the latter uses his now intact ocarina to seal Hoi away in the music box, never to be released again. Tapion collapses to the ground and sighs with relief. After all this time, it was over. But now what? In the original, Tapion used the time machine to go back in time to his home planet to stop everything that took place. But this time around, he doesn't have that option. Since we're including this story in the main timeline, Bulma doesn't have access to the time machine. She had forgotten about it until late in Super in the Goku Black arc. That's the only change we feel like making from the movie, so that means that the warrior remains on Earth. And besides, he is now, having seen all this power, keen to learn more about this planet and what it can offer, as well as its fighters. In the time he spends here, he takes a shine with Piccolo, meditating with one another for many days at a time, the Namekian taking a very big liking to this individual who was very keen to settle his furrowed brow after all the centuries of toil. This does mean that Tapion doesn't live at Capture Corp with Trunks. We felt that was a little bit surreal and silly. But he still remains friends with the young lad. But instead, Piccolo has another idea.
I think I have just the place for you. Come with me.
Piccolo then takes him to the lookout and introduces him to Dende.
Dende, this is Tapion. I believe he might be of use for you.
Huh? In what way, Piccolo?
Piccolo then explains to the Guardian in a very honest manner that Dende, he's no fighter. He is more of a passive observer with more of a defensive slate of abilities. He clearly needs a warrior to stand by him at the lookout at all times in case of trouble. A Templar, if you would. Tapion bows his head, honored to be conversing with this god of Earth, effectively.
I promise you, Your Grace, I will give my life to defending this world I now call home.
Dende laughs awkwardly.
Gosh, you can call me Dende, my friend. I don't take well to the idea of being a deity yet. I'm still sort of new to this thing, but yes, I'd be delighted to accept you as an assistant.
Piccolo smiles.
Good. The thought of you lazing about at Bulma's place didn't sit well with me. You'll get more out of life here with Dende and Mr. Popo than there.
Tapion nods and thanks Piccolo for his help.
I shall do what I can to protect Earth.
With that, Piccolo flies off, leaving Tapion to get acquainted with his new home. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? With Tapion here, what does this mean for Earth? Will he play a factor in the story, or just be a friend for Dende? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!